In the summer of 1979, Neil Diamond collapsed on stage. Not from excess, not from scandal, but from a tumor pressing dangerously close to his spine. Something that could have stolen his voice, his movement, and his life. The lights stayed on. The audience waited. But for Neil Diamond, that moment split his life in two. Because for the first time, he understood a brutal truth. Talent does not protect the body, and fame does not spare the soul. He was the man whose songs made entire stadiums sing as one. Sweet Caroline turned strangers into a single voice. Weddings, bars, ballparks, his music became ritual. Yet when the cheering stopped, Neil often walked off stage alone, carrying exhaustion, doubt, and a loneliness no chorus could erase. Neil Diamond's life was built on contradictions. A man who created joy while privately unraveling. A global icon who lost his families one by one. A songwriter worth hundreds of millions who still didn't know where he belonged when the lights went out. Long before the fame, before the anthems, Neil was a quiet boy in cramped Brooklyn apartments, born January 24, 1941, into a disciplined immigrant Jewish family. His father went to war. His mother held the household together in silence. Stability was never guaranteed. Loneliness arrived early. A brief childhood stay in Wyoming only deepened it. The land was vast, the silence louder. When he returned to Brooklyn, Neil learned how to disappear into himself. Movie theaters became refuge. Music became survival. When he picked up a guitar, it wasn't play. It was structure, control. A private space where the world couldn't intrude. At Erasmus Hall High School, surrounded by other kids desperate to escape Brooklyn, Neil realized music wasn't about fame. It was about not being swept away by life. He enrolled at NYU as a pre-med student, fencing on scholarship, choosing safety for his family's sake. But the melody never stopped. He left school just 10 credits short of graduation, walking away from certainty into nothing. Tin Pan Alley rejected him quietly. Doors didn't slam. They simply closed. He lived broke, unknown, writing endlessly. When Sunbeam Music dropped him, he survived on coins and borrowed spaces above jazz clubs. He kept writing because without it, he had nothing else left. Success arrived unevenly. I'm a Believer became a global phenomenon, but sung by the Monkees. The world celebrated while Neil returned to the same empty room. That taught him a harsh lesson. Writing for others meant remaining invisible. So he wrote for himself. Solitary Man wasn't designed to sell. It was confession. Loneliness turned into melody. And then came Sweet Caroline, a song that escaped its creator and became cultural instinct. By the 1970s, Neil Diamond was unstoppable. Sold-out tours, chart domination. Hot August Night became one of the greatest live albums ever recorded. The louder the crowd, the deeper the cost. Fame burned through his body. Silence waited backstage. Marriages collapsed quietly. Absence replaced conflict. He could unite millions but couldn't stay home. Each divorce left behind another empty room. Another reminder that success cannot substitute presence. Then his body rebelled. The collapse. The surgery. The letters written in fear. For the first time, Neil wondered if he would wake up as himself. He survived and returned stronger. Or so it seemed. Decades later, the reckoning came slower and crueler. Parkinson's disease. Not a sudden ending, but a gradual theft. Balance, rhythm, control. The very instincts that defined him. He fought quietly. He toured longer than he should have. But eventually, he chose dignity over denial. He stepped away from the stage. Not because he loved music less, but because he loved it too much to let it break him publicly. Today, Neil Diamond lives far from the spotlight in Colorado. The mountains are quiet. The piano remains. Some days his hands tremble too much. Some days a few notes are enough to remind him he still exists. His wife, Katie, stands beside him, not as an audience, but as an anchor. No performances, no illusion, just presence. And yet, Neil Diamond never truly left. His songs still rise without him. Sweet Caroline still turns crowds into one voice, not as nostalgia, but as proof that something he planted grew beyond him. Parkinson's can take movement, cannot take memory. Neil Diamond no longer stands under the lights, but the world still sings him,